Pi Patel was approached by a local novelist who saw great potential in turning Pi's life story into a captivating book. Pi's parents had given him the name Piscine Molitor, inspired by a French swimming pool, even though he lived in India where English was more commonly spoken. Naturally, his childhood friends took to calling him P. Determined to put an end to this nickname, he decided to adopt the name Pi. Initially, his classmates were skeptical, but Pi quickly proved his worth by showcasing an extraordinary ability to recite the never-rao, ending mathematical constant, starting with 3.14. From that point on, Pi earned the admiration of both peers and teachers, becoming a legend at his secondary school. Hailing from a Hindu family, Pi's father operated a zoo, while his mother pursued a career as a botanist. Pi was introduced to Hinduism at an early age by his mother, but before long he found himself equally drawn to Roman Catholicism and Islam. Additionally, he embraced a vegetarian lifestyle. Pi's father, however, held a different worldview, rooted in a scientific understanding of the world. According to his father, Pi couldn't simultaneously hold 3 different sets of beliefs. He argued that if Pi believed in all of them, it meant he didn't truly believe in any of them. Despite this challenge, Pi remained steadfast in his own faith. Pi thinks that man and beasts have souls, and that even beasts would not hurt others if treated with sincerity. One day, Pi secretly brings his elder brother to the tiger shelter at the zoo to feed a tiger named Parker. Alerted by his brother, Father comes to bring Pi away before the tiger attacks him. To teach him a lesson, Father asks his servant to lure the tiger with a goat. Once the gate is opened, Parker runs to the goat and devours it. This particular scene has become a trauma for Pi, and his faith shatters. Growing up, Pi spends most of his leisure time exploring novels and philosophy as a means to understand the meaning of life. One day, he crosses paths with a dancer, Anandi, intrigued by her dance movements. Pi follows Anandi to ask her the meaning of a dance movement. Anandi is amused when he mimics the dance and explains that it means the lotus flower is hidden in the woods. Afterward, Pi falls in love with Anandi and brings her to see Parker. However, Father's zoo goes broke in the economic recession, and he plans to ship the animals to North America for sales. He also announces that the whole family will migrate to Canada. Despite Pi's strong objection, his father does not change his mind. Before departure, he spends some romantic time with Anandi. She ties a red bracelet on Pi's wrist. Many years later, Pi cannot recall how they bid farewell to one another, so Pi boards the ship overseas at dinner time. Even though his mother requests vegetarian food, the snobbish chef still gives her meat. Mother insists on her choice, but Chef does not give in. Enraged by Chef's nasty attitude, Pi's father fights with him later, as Pi's family is disappointed with their meal. A Buddhist sailor tells them the gravy is not counted as meat. Even so, Pi refuses to eat it. As the ship makes its way into the Mariana Trench, it suffers a cataclysmic event. In the raging storm, the huge waves lash against the deck. Awakened, Pi goes to the deck with much excitement. Soon after, the seawater enters the ship, causing the ship to sink. Pi rushes back to the cabins to save his family, only to find them fully submerged in water. Helpless, he returns to the deck to enlist help at this time. Chef and a few sailors are untying the lifeboat. In the chaos, Pi is pushed onto the lifeboat as soon as a zebra jumps down to the same lifeboat. The rope is broken. The lifeboat is set adrift and pushed further and further away by the huge waves. Looking at the sinking cargo ship, Pi whistles and shouts helplessly at this time. He suddenly sees someone swimming towards him, so he rushed to help, but finds that it is Tiger Parker, frightened by Parker's arrival. Pi dives into the sea. But when he sees the sunk ship, he realizes he needs to return to the lifeboat. To avoid the tiger, he lies on the mast of the boat and desperately cries out for his family. The next morning, Pi wakes up on the mast with only the lame zebra on board. He quickly clears the water from that boat, but the hyena suddenly comes out. Pi is so afraid of this hyena that he stumbles back to the mast. In the meantime, a mother gorilla is approaching the boat, riding on some bananas. Pi pulls the gorilla on board and asks her where her children are. In reply, the gorilla gazes at sea sadly. That night, hungry hyena begins biting zebra. Pi and gorilla fail to stop it, so zebra dies. Later, Pi discovers a guide to surviving at sea, as well as many life jackets and supplies. He makes a simple raft out of life jackets and the oars. All of a sudden, the hyena appears to wrestle with the gorilla and kills her. Furious at the gorilla's death, Pi stands up to fight against the hyena. To his shock, Parker descends on the boat out of nowhere to put down the hyena at once. Pi leaves the boat in fear and gets on his raft. Later, Pi sneaks back to the boat to obtain some supplies while Parker is sleeping. He spots a rat running around the supplies. Unexpectedly, Parker awakens, so Pi feeds Parker with the rat and returns to his raft. Night comes, Pi cries in despair alone. Drifting on the raft, the gloomy sea is covered by endless darkness until dawn. At the sun rises, the sea looks like a mirror reflecting the white boat and the boy as if they are floating in a brilliant cloud. Pi writes a letter with pen and paper, puts it in a jar, and throws it into the sea. He stands between the sea and the sky, earnestly seeking divine guidance. After that, he begins to study the Sea Survival Guide, mastering many survival skills. He also uses the techniques provided in the guide to shake the boat so violently that Parker develops a seasick reflex. At first, Pi tries to divide the territory with Parker by peeing, but Parker pees all over his face. As Parker could swim to his raft and eat him at any time, Pi has to learn to fish to feed Parker. However, Parker still dives into the sea out of its hunger, but it fails to get any food. Seeing Parker drawing near, Pi flees to the lifeboat. Parker, however, is trapped at sea and cannot get on the boat. Pi initially draws his raft to the boat and plans to abandon Parker, but he cannot bear to let the tiger die. So he lifts it up to the boat and again returns to his raft. One day, Pi has got a fish, but he cries bitterly after killing the fish. He gives thanks to God for saving his life by sending the fish, and then Pi whistles to Parker and feeds it with the fish. When Pi enjoys the superb sea view in the evening, a giant whale rises into the air and knocks Pi's raft over, throwing all food and drinking water into seawater. Just when Pi gets anxious at the shortage of food, a huge flock of fish flies into the boat. Pi succeeds in snatching a big fish from Parker for food, eating it raw for the very first time. Since it is dangerous to travel between the boat and raft, Pi bravely declares war on the tiger and tames it with wisdom and courage. Following that, he not only makes peace with the tiger on the ship, but also has secured his own place on his journey into the unknown. Pi has learned to survive and adapt, keeping a diary of his drift. He realizes that he could not live without the tiger, and the fear of the tiger keeps him alert. Furthermore, to meet Parker's survival needs, he has a new purpose in life. One day, Pi sees a ship sailing past them. He immediately sends out a signal for help, but to no avail. Pi is somehow upset, but he does not want to give up his hope. Day after day, still no one comes to rescue him. In the peaceful evening, Pi sees a mysterious and amazing vortex of memory at the sea bottom where various kinds of animals and even his mother's face appear. But Pi knows clearly that the cargo ship which carries his family members is buried in the sea. Pi diligently maintained a daily diary, hoping to discover salvation through its pages. Lost in a state of confusion and trance, he could no longer distinguish between day and night or between dreams and reality. Suddenly, a violent storm struck, causing the boat to shake violently and sweeping away Pi's diary in the wind. In gratitude for what he saw as God's saving grace, Pi knelt on the white canvas, urging Parker to join him in worship. However, Parker was preoccupied with a fierce struggle against the relentless waves. Pi couldn't help but question why God would want to terrify Parker, his one and only companion at that moment. With these thoughts, Pi sought refuge in the cabin, sheltering himself beneath the sail as the storm raged on. After the storm finally subsided, Pi managed to drink a small amount of rainwater to rejuvenate himself and offered some to Parker. Sadly, Parker appeared to be near the end of his strength. As Pi stroked Parker, he prepared himself for the possibility of death. However, when he regained consciousness, he found himself on an island teeming with lush vegetation. Overcome with hunger, Pi quickly satisfied his appetite with the island's bounty, and then ventured deeper into the verdant landscape. The island was entirely cloaked in plants and intricate root systems. At its heart, numerous small circular lakes were populated by mongooses. Pi joyfully took a swim in one of the lakes, while Parker hunted the mongooses for sustenance. Later, Pi explored the woods and secured a bracelet gifted to him by his girlfriend to a tree root. As dusk fell, all the mongooses hurried to the safety of the trees, prompting Pi to retreat to his boat in fear. During the night, Pi observed the lake glowing, and the fish within it were slowly eroded. At this moment, the island took on the appearance of a reclining female body. Subsequently, Pi discovered a human tooth in a lotus-like flower. It became evident that this was a cannibalistic island where the fresh water turned into acid by night, dissolving living creatures. The tooth likely belonged to someone who had come to the island and met a lonely, forgotten end. Pi resolved not to share the same fate and yearned to return to the civilized world. The following day, Pi loaded his boat with fresh water, plants, and half a boat's worth of mongooses for Parker. Following Pi's whistle, Parker boarded the boat, and they set sail once again. It is said that the island disappears after their departure and no one has ever seen it. Pi regards such an experience as God's providence for him. Even in extreme difficulties, God does not abandon him, but always helps him. After drifting for an unknown period of time, Pi finally reaches the shore as he lies exhausted on the beach. Parker walks into the jungle without looking back. Pi does not fathom why Parker just forsakes him without any lingering, though they have been through so much together. So when Pi is finally rescued by the locals, he bursts into cries for the loss of his best friend, Parker, during the hardship. Investigators from the shipping company come to find out the cause of the wreck. Pi tells them his story, but they do not believe in such a fantasy. So Pi gives them another version of the story. 4 passengers are saved from the sunk ship, namely Pi, Mother Chef, and Buddhist Sailor. Sailor breaks his leg as he jumps down to the lifeboat. Chef amputates Sailor's leg to save him, but Sailor still dies. Chef sets up Sailor's corpse as bait to catch fish, rationalizing that they need more food for survival. Knowing it, Mother confronts Chef with fury, but Chef brutally eats up Sailor's body. 1 week later, Pi is beaten up by Chef for accidentally setting a tortoise free. To protect Pi, Mother wrestles with Chef, but the Chef slays her. This arouses the evil side in Pi, and he impales Chef with a knife the next day. From then on, he floats alone across the Pacific until he is rescued. The investigators do not utter a word, for they somehow dislike the second version. Writer is shrewd enough to draw links between the 2 stories. Animals in the first story share similarities with the human characters of the second story. To be specific, the zebra with a broken leg corresponds to a Buddhist sailor who breaks his leg. The hyena stands for cruel chef. The mother gorilla represents his mother, while the tiger Parker refers to Pi himself, the evil side of him that was aroused during the battle against primitive nature and hardships. Good and evil, being 2 sides of humans' instinct, may exist within one person, and Pi, instead of taming the atrocious tiger during the whole journey, was actually struggling hard to maintain a balance between good and evil, even though he knew it's the evil instinct that helped him survive those extreme hardships. This implies the reason why the tiger just walked away without lingering, and Pi cried hard for the loss of his best friend right after they reached the civilized world. A world that definitely doesn't belong to the tiger Parker, the evil side of Pi. When asked which story is better, writer prefers the one with Parker, for it is more interesting. Learning that Pi is married with children, writer concludes that Pi's story has a wonderful ending. In fact, the investigators also choose to believe the first story, and they praise Pi for his bravery and tenacity. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new movie recaps.
If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gonna feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me for granted and you know I'm leaving. I'ma take what's mine with the webs I'm weaving. I could take this crowd from seeing to believing. Got a taste for blood and my tongue keeps bleeding. From the words I spit, so sharp, so freezing, so cold. Behold, frostbite they feeling. I could tear you apart or I could go heal them. Don't believe in fate, don't believe in ceiling.